Hello, welcome to another unboxing video, this time for the Harvest Moon colour trend, which is the third and final colour trend for 2021 for Tonic, Nuvo and CRaFTi. I'm going to do this video a little bit differently. Usually I go through all of the products first and then I show you samples, but I thought I would just go through the samples and then tell you which products I've used as well. So let me know if you prefer this way of me filming this, but I just thought it would be a slightly shorter video then, because I know my colour trend videos tend to be like over an hour long, so I thought this would be a quicker kind of way to do it. So first thing I'm going to show you is the brand new shimmer powder, which is called Maroon Spark, and it has got some beautiful colours hidden within there. There's actually like black and some yellowy tones hidden inside it as well, and I did 3 different backgrounds playing with this. So these 2 outside ones, this was adding the powder first, but instead of tipping the powder just from the bottle, I decided I wanted more of like an overall coverage, so I just took a soft fluffy brush, tipped some of this out onto my work surface, picked it up with the fluffy brush and then just like tapped it over the top, so instead of getting like concentrated clumps like sometimes when you tap the bottom of this you get like a clump and then a few little specks around it, doing it this way you kind of get more of like an overall distribution of the powder, and it gives a really nice strong saturated kind of background. So I thought I'd just share that kind of technique with you. And then the middle one is adding lots of water and then sprinkling the powder on, again using the paintbrush to tap it on, but that's the kind of different effects that you can get. So this is like using a lot of the powder and then adding water over the top, and this one is flooding the card with water and then finally sprinkling in the powder over the top, and you can get like little speckled areas and then a lot more loose kind of areas where all the colours have really watered themselves down with all the water that was on the cardstock. So it gives a really different kind of look, and you might notice something sparkling on there as well. And so I actually combined these, both of these two have got this splattered onto them as well. So this is the Sparkling Mimosa Sparkle Spray, and it is a beautiful yellowy goldy kind of a colour. It's really stunning, this colour, and it's actually the same colour of ink that is in the Golden Honey Nuvo marker, which is also in this colour trend as well. You can see they're practically identical colours, so you could actually, if you only got one or the other of these, you could scribble some of this onto your glass cutting mat, add a bit of water and then splatter it on top of your shimmer powder to give a similar effect as well. So there's different ways of adding some extra sparkle to your shimmer powder, because as the name suggests, a shimmer powder is more like shimmery and metallic kind of finish, whereas the sparkle spray and the glitter marker are very sparkly and glittery. So it really gives a nice extra effect to your background to add that sparkle onto there. So that's adding the sparkle over the top of like a more minimalistic sort of background, and then this is adding a little bit of the sparkle onto this heavier background as well. And then for this one, to make it a little bit different, I've used the heavier background, but if you notice, these are more of a coppery colour and they're really glossy and shiny, the splatters on here, and that is taking the Moroccan Flame Nuvo Dream Drop and squirting like a large Nuvo drop amount onto your glass cutting mat, spraying a spritz of water on it, mixing it up with your palette knife or your paintbrush if you'd prefer, and then taking your paintbrush and splattering it onto your card. And in some areas you get these like stringy effects, which I always think look great in galaxies because they kind of look like shooting stars, or in some areas you get like more big blobby areas as well. So it really gives like a different variation all across the background. So that's just some ways of adding extra parts of your colour trend into your new Nuvo shimmer powder colour. So that is that. And also this one differs from the previous red colour. The previous red colour is called Catherine Wheel, and that has a lot of gold tones in it, whereas this one has that kind of black and darker maroony colours in there. So that's how it differs from the original red that came out as well, in case you're interested. And then for this card, I took one of those backgrounds that I had splattered the sparkle spray onto, and then I wanted to experiment with the embossing powders. So a lot of these elements like stamps and dies are previous things that Tonic have released, whether it was on Creating Craft or another stamp club or Designer's Choice or, you know, kits, that kind of thing. So any of these bits and pieces have definitely already been released. But the stamp, the branchy stamp that I've used here, I embossed this with the Medici Crimson embossing powder, which is a gorgeous like metallic-y red kind of colour, really pretty. And then this strip down here of all these dots is with the other new embossing powder, which is called Copper Mine, and it is absolutely stunning, this one. They don't have a glittery copper embossing powder in the colour range for Nuvo. They have a normal copper embossing powder to go along with like the gold and silver and everything, but this is the first glittery copper. And it's really pretty, really glittery as well, really lovely, packed full of glitter. And if you haven't watched a previous video where I've told you the tip of glittery embossing powder, if you are like doing a batch session of doing lots of embossing, and you keep like tipping some out onto your project, tipping it back into the pot, make sure, especially when using a sparkly embossing powder, that you shake the pot again before you dump some more out, because otherwise, if you've ever done this, or you can just try on a piece of paper, you'll notice that like the glitter is more staticky and sticks to the paper. So as you're tipping it back in, all the embossing powder goes in first, then the glitter sits on top. So if you were then to use it again straight away onto your batch making of projects, you're going to be dumping out the glitter onto your project, and then when you go to heat set it, all of the glitter is just going to fly off because it won't stick, because I haven't got the embossing powder to sort of melt around it and hold it in place. So if you haven't already seen me mention that in a video before, I thought I'd just mention that again. And it's definitely, you definitely need to do it with this one because it's really glittery, but it's absolutely beautiful when you do heat emboss with it. So that is the two different embossing powders as well. Then I have got 3 different samples here showing the new expanding mousse colour, and this is Canyon Clay, and it is a really pretty colour. It's like almost a slightly pinky brown kind of colour, but it's really pretty. I'm always a bit dubious about browns, but this one is actually really lovely. It's a really nice neutral kind of colour that's slightly on the warmer side, so perfect for your autumn cards because it goes with like the oranges and the reds that you would see in the autumn time. So really lovely colour. And if you haven't seen expanding mousse before, it is very similar to the crackle mousse or the normal embellishment mousse from Tonic, but if you heat this, it will expand. So you can just use it like a normal regular embellishment mousse, and if you don't add heat to it, it will just dry exactly like a regular embellishment mousse. It will just give you that metallic kind of sheen over the top of embossing, or a metallic effect through a stencil, or you can use it thickly through a stencil as well. And if you don't add heat, it just looks like normal embellishment mousse. But if you like the effect of, it kind of looks like, I don't know, that fake kind of leather sort of look with the little puffy bits on, then you can just add heat to it and it gives that gorgeous puffed up effect. It also looks different depending on the thickness that you add it in as well. So if you add it more thinly, it kind of takes away that metallic sheen and gives you like a faux suede kind of effect. And if you've used it thickly, it really puffs up. So I've used it in a couple of different applications here. This is one of my favourite ways of using expanding mousse, is through a stencil, because it gives this gorgeous like domed effect when you then heat it, because it sort of puffs up within the little shape of the stencil. But you can see on here it's also sparkly. I also love to either just sprinkle glitter on. Glitter works perfectly well as well. You can also use any of the pure Sheen confettis too, because they seem to be heat stable, and sequins as well. I've heated up sequins in expanding mousse and they've been heat stable too. But one of my favourite things to do is to add the glittery embossing powders, and then you get this kind of effect. So like this one here is puffed up with glittery embossing powder on the top, so it gives a completely different look. And if I think most of them have got a bit of glitter on. This one over here is just the mousse puffed up. So you can see that that's the kind of effect that expanding mousse gives. Or you can add the embossing powder on the mousse whilst it's still wet, and you can puff it up. with expanding mousse, like I said, if you just leave it to dry, you then won't be able to heat it to get it to puff. It will just dry like embellishment mousse. So you want to act relatively quickly with heating this up to get the puffy effect, because you want the mousse to still be wet when you heat it, so that I think it's the release of the moisture that gives it that puffy kind of effect. So yeah, you definitely want it to be still wet when you go to heat it. So obviously prioritise cleaning it off your stencil first, and then try and get around to heating it relatively quickly. Obviously you could do like a little batch of them, like use a stencil 3 or 4 times, then wash the stencil and come back and heat them. But you do want to not sort of leave it for half an hour or something. I think maybe like 10 minutes would be fine, but not too much longer than that. But it gives a really cool effect on the background of a card. And this one I just finished off with a few little leaf die cuts and a little Dymo thank you sentiment on there as well. Then, this is another of my favourite ways of using expanding mousse, is to scrape it across a cotton handmade paper from Tonic, but specifically scraping it across the reverse side of it. So, this is the heart paper. It doesn't actually look that much like hearts once you've done this effect on it. It kind of gives just more of like a generic-y polka dot sort of effect. But you scrape the mousse over the back of the cardstock, so the mousse is collecting in those debossed areas, because usually the front side has the embossed design on it, so the back side would have the debossed design, and you scrape the mousse over the top of it, leaving a thin layer on the background and trying to get the mousse to stay in the little heart areas on this specific paper. And then when you come to heat it, the thinner areas give you that suede kind of look, and the thicker areas start to puff up. So you actually get like the puffy mousse effect within the detail of the debossed side of the cotton handmade paper. And I think this looks so cool. I love this kind of technique. I have mostly just done it with this paper, which is, I'm not 100% sure the name, I'll put it up here. It's quite an old one. But it's got, I think they do it in different colours actually, but these heart ones are just perfect. I love this kind of heart design, but you could do it with other different designs as well. It would definitely give a different look, but you could obviously have a go with any of like the papers. You might have got a single sheet out of one of your craft kits. You could just have a go with a quarter of a sheet or something to try out this cool background technique. And I've also ripped this one as well, and it shows that gorgeous core of the cotton paper as well. Some of them actually have a coloured core to them too, and you can tell because the back of it will look like a colour. For example, the one that comes out in this colour trend that I'll show you later has a gorgeous purple on the back, and it tears really nicely and gives a really lovely lighter kind of purple colour around the edge of it, which I will show you later. So that is another cool way of using expanding mousse, but I also wanted to experiment, and I took the expanding mousse as well as the new glacier paste, which is called Bronze Medal, and some of the sparkling mimosa sparkle spray, and I mixed all of them together, and then I did this technique of scraping it through the back of a piece of the cotton handmade paper, so you get the sparkly effect and you get that puffy effect as well, and I think that gives a really nice look too. So another different way of using it. It's the same technique, but mixing in different things gives you a slightly different effect. Or you could easily have sprinkled on some of the glittery embossing powder, or even just the plain red embossing powder as well. Or you can also sprinkle on some of the glitter too. That would also look really lovely in here. So loads of different ways of like sprucing up the expanding mousse and giving it that sparkly kind of feel as well. You will also see some of the papers that I've used on these cards as well, as I keep showing them to you, but I will go through the papers at the end separately to show you them. Then I think that's everything off of that one. This card has also got the normal Nuvo mousse, which is a beautiful red colour. I love this colour. It's called Antique Red. Really, really gorgeous colour, this one. It's definitely a very maroony, kind of deep, moody kind of red, and it goes absolutely perfectly with that Medici Crimson embossing powder. So for this background, these were going to be 2 separate cards, but I really like the look of it together because I ripped down this panel and I was like, oh, that looks really good with this bright red colour. So for this one, it is only a strip that's about this kind of width, but I took one of the Nuvo silicone spatulas, scooped up some of the mousse, and then just spread it down the card like this, trying to get a sort of even smooth coverage, but a little bit thicker than, you know, like just scraping it onto the card so that you couldn't see any of the white card through it. And then I took some of the embossing powder and the little Nuvo spoon so I could control it a little bit better, and I just sort of had some on the spoon and tapped it across the mousse. And I did also sprinkle in a little bit of the shimmer powder. It's not very evident though, so you might want to skip adding the shimmer powder. Then I waited for the mousse to dry. So because this is normal embellishment mousse, you can heat dry it, I think, but I don't think it really works that well. I do tend to rather leave my normal Nuvo embellishment mousse to dry naturally. So I left it to dry with the unheated embossing powder on it, and then once it was dry, I heated over the top of it, and then the embossing powder melted. So you've got this gorgeous glossy red effect. And these little clumpy areas, this is the shimmer powder, but it is staying on there. It's not coming off on my finger. So it didn't really give the effect I was hoping for because the mousse wasn't that wet. There's kind of little areas here where a little black particle has like burst out. But yeah, it wasn't quite the effect I was going for. So maybe just the embossing powder would look really nice on top of this mousse. But that's another way of using your embossing powders and your normal Nuvo embellishment mousses. You could also have done this with the expanding mousse if you wanted to, and just sprinkled the copper onto there and then let it dry and then heat the copper embossing powder, and you will have got a similar effect of this metallic finish in the background, because if you let an expanding mousse dry, it just becomes a normal embellishment mousse basically. So you can also do that in that colour combination if you wanted to as well. So that's that card. Then, oh, they're all falling off the pile. Then I've got a sample showing you the ink pads. So I don't always tend to focus on the ink pads, but they are such a gorgeous like sunset of colours that I just had to create a card just using them by themselves, literally just the ink pads on the card. And this is a couple of different Stamp Club stamp sets and dies to do this with, but basically all I did was take the little cubes and swipe them across the card, and then take a few stamps and just stamp them in the same colour over the top of them to give this kind of almost like ethereal kind of painted sort of look. And I really love how it turned out, but these colours are so pretty. This is called Samoan Sun, Hawaiian Sunset, and then Rumba Red. I think I said them right, but they're beautiful colours. I really like this, and this is the Harvest Moon set because this is the Harvest Moon colour trend, but they are absolutely beautiful colours, and I think they fit in really nicely to the rest of the colours from the range as well. I think this one would go really nicely with the Sangria Red that came out a little while ago. This orange would kind of tone down the carrot stick colour as well. And this yellow is a nice buttery kind of yellow, whereas the others are very bright sort of yellows. This is more of like almost a pastel-y sort of yellow tone, so really pretty as well. And then that's just a really simple card, just using these ink pads to create the whole card, which is always nice to actually just be able to take one kind of product and create an entire card with it. Then this one is, or actually these two are using lots of the different drops from this colour trend. So I've already shown you the Dream Drop, but there are actually 4 drops in this colour trend. I think there's just 4. So this one is a beautiful purpley tone that you might not think goes with this colour trend, and I was kind of wondering what else coordinated with it, but this handmade cotton paper that's in here actually goes really nicely with it, and also the satin mirror card as well. They all go really nicely together, so that is a lovely colour combination. But also I think the coppers would go perfectly with this lovely purple as well. So this one is called Windsor Wine, and it is a really lovely vibrant colour. It's very translucent when you use it more thinly, but I did also add some thicker drops onto here as well. And this was a different technique. Again, I feel like I'm always showing you the same kind of techniques, and I want to show you or even just think of for myself different ways of using products. And I often show the squishing technique with the drops, which I know a lot of you love, and I do love doing as well. But I thought I'd show something a little bit different. So this was an old paintbrush that the bristles had really got manky on. So I took my Tonic scissors. These kind of ones, the snips, with these powerful like handles and blades, is really great for cutting through bristles on a paintbrush. And I literally just completely cut it off so it's flat along the top, and I've made my own stencil brush. And then all I did for this was like stipple the drops all over. So I squirted out like a large drop onto my mat, picked it up, and then just went like this and stippled all over it in a random fashion. Then let that dry, then added a few extra drops over the top, let that dry, and then just simply added a sentiment. And I think it almost gives a cloudy kind of effect. That's why I used Make-A-Wish, because it kind of reminded me of like fairyland maybe, and then maybe they have pink clouds in fairyland, but it's sort of ethereal kind of looking really. So I thought that was quite a nice different way of using your drops. And you could also bring in the different colours on this as well. There's nothing to stop you bringing in a little bit of a dream drop too if you wanted to add a little bit of depth to the sort of cloudy effect as well. So I thought that was a cool way of using the drops. And then this card is using the other 3 drops. Where's the other one gone there? The other 3 drops and the glitter from the confetti pack. So I'll take this opportunity to show you the confetti, glitter and sequin pack, which is called Harvest Moon. I only have 2 of them to show you though, which are the 2 that I got in last month's or this month's craft kit. So there's a gold glitter called Midsummer Gold. There's Autumn Blaze sequins, which are the 3 different sized sequins, and they're in that gorgeous tiny little style. They're a beautiful dark orange colour, and they have that holographic feel to them. So they've got like tiny flecks of red and green and stuff in them as well. Really, really beautiful. And then I think, because I can only see a picture of these elsewhere, I think there's also a red glitter and then gold confetti of some sort. I'm not sure what shape the confetti is though. But yeah, I think this is going to be a really lovely selection, but I'll definitely get my hands on that once they launch as well, because I like to have everything of the collections. But yeah, I really love the sort of colour scheme of the set of confettis and glitters. I think they're really lovely. So that is the 4 pack of them. But on this card I've used the glitter, so I used the Midsummer Gold. And okay, I'll start from the background of this card. So basically, when I was splatting some of this Dream Drop onto that first kind of background that I showed you using the shimmer powders, I had some of this watered down Dream Drop left over. So I just took another piece of card and squished it into that mess and got this cool coppery kind of background with that sort of Dream Drop sort of feel to it. And then I was like, oh, well, I can just build on this and make another card out of it. So I took the Malted Milk Gloss Drop, which is one of the new ones, and the Mustard Jar Stone Drop, and I did little Nuvo drops all over it. And then I came along just with my finger. You could use a tissue or a sponge or something if you didn't want to get your fingers dirty, and then I just pressed each of them down to make them a larger circle, and then they kind of get like a little extra lump in the middle of them, which gives a different look for a Nuvo drop. And then on all the Stone Drop ones, I took the little spoon again so I could be direct with the glitter, and I just dumped a little bit of glitter on all of the Stone Drops, left it to dry, and then tipped off the excess glitter. And then I decided to come back in, use a few more Stone Drops, so I've added a few extra little Stone Drops, and then add in some of the Dream Drops as well to bring that background colour forwards. So a really, really simple card, just messing about with the Dream Drops and a little bit of glitter, and I think it gives a really nice effect and just shows off all of the different drops in this collection. So the Malted Milk is the one that you got in your Tonic craft kit with the Harvest Moon name. It's a really lovely off-white neutral kind of colour. Then the Stone Drop, which is the Mustard Jar, is a beautiful, well, definitely a mustard, English mustard kind of colour, absolutely gorgeous, and goes perfectly with that glitter. And then the Dream Drop is a beautiful bronze colour, but you can see actually it has like a red. There it looks a lot redder, and there it looks more bronze. It's got like a red mica in it, so it's really unusual, this one. I'm not sure if it comes across as much on the camera when it's in that thinner form, but yeah, it has like gorgeous coppery red tones, and this is the Moroccan Flame. It definitely looks like kind of like fire, which is lovely. So those are all of the Nuvo drops that are in this colour trend, and that is an example of using those. Then I have got an example for the glacier paste, and I also used this glacier paste onto one of the pattern papers. So you've got a gorgeous pattern paper pad, and I thought, I know in my previous colour trend, the Santa's Workshop one, I showed you a lot of ideas of how to like spruce up or add Nuvo to your pattern papers to make them look different. And with these pattern papers, you can definitely do a lot of those techniques on these papers as well. But I thought I'd show something else too. So I took one of the Tonic stencils. I think this is one of their mosaic ones, I think they were called. I'm not sure if they're still available. I always forget which ones are not available anymore. But I wanted to show thin versus thick application, because this colour is slightly different. A lot of the time I say you might as well just use it in a thin application because it looks very similar to when you've used it in a thick application, but you're saving product by using it thinly rather than thickly. But this one kind of has a different coloured base. So this is the bronze medal, but it looks a little bit more browny. The base of it is more browny, but it has gorgeous goldy, bronzy mica in there. So I decided to do a card that showed you the difference. So with this one, using it thinly gives this kind of a look. This was like really thinly though. And then using it thicker gives this kind of a look. And you can see there's really not much dimension to it. It's literally like a millimetre. Even though that was probably a couple of millimetres or 3 millimetres thick, it dries down and it's only like a millimetre thick once it dries. So that's kind of why I say use it more thinly. But so in this fashion, with this colour, use it still on the thinner side, but more thickly than you might usually use a glacier paste, because it kind of has a different coloured base. Not that it looks bad, I think it looks quite nice actually, that you can then catch it in the light and you see those little flecks all over there. But yeah, really, really pretty colour, that one, and it's just a different way to add something extra to your patterned papers, and it's really quick and easy to do as well, and great for like batch making as well. And just a quick best wishes sentiment on that one to finish it off. Then I've got one more card using Nuvo stuff, which is the antique red Nuvo embellishment mousse again, and this is using the simple heart stencil, because I often forget to use the embellishment mousse just through a stencil. I'm often like trying to find a new way of using it, like in the last colour trend video I mixed it with the sparkle spray and the glacier paste, and I often do like watering down techniques and squishing your card into it, but I always forget to just use it through a stencil. So I took that simple heart stencil, which is perfect for the red, and just used it straight through that, and it just gives such a beautiful effect. I always forget how gorgeous just Nuvo mousse through a stencil looks. I used to do this quite a lot in my sped up videos like 3 or 4 years ago. I'd have like a little character coloured in sort of like a circular element, a little bit of ink blending in the background, and then some Nuvo mousse stenciling on there, and it just looks so stunning. And you could even, I wanted to keep this one really like clean and simple, but you could even water some down and splatter it onto the background as well, or bring in like the glacier paste splattered down, or because this is red as well, you could also water down some of your Nuvo shimmer powder and add splattering on there as well. So hopefully that's given you some ideas of how to use all of the Nuvo product from this colour trend. And now I will show you the Craft Perfect products as well. Okay, so firstly we've got the 6x6 patterned paper pad, which we now get with all of the colour trends, and you might have already got it in the last craft kit as well, if you bought that one. And this is the Harvest Moon to match the colour trend. You've got 8 different designs, 6 of each of them. It's 160 GSM, and they are double-sided patterned papers, and you have 24 sheets in total. And there are some beautiful designs in here, like sort of droplet designs in different maroony colours on a slightly off-white background. On the back of that you've then got a maroon pinstripe kind of design with a really light maroon dotted stripe pattern. Then you've got this gorgeous one, this sort of mustardy colour with the interlocking rings, and there's a little cross in the centre in a darker kind of mustard tone. Then on the back of that we've got this very retro kind of pattern with these ovals that are all sort of offset from each other. Also gives me like peacock kind of vibes as well, obviously in a different colour, but it kind of looks like the eye of a peacock feather. Then we also have this design, which is again a slightly off-white colour with some like maroon wiggly dotted lines going across it. And then we have this almost like chicken wire kind of design, but they're actually like almost like a puffy cross shape in there. They're it's really different. It's not just like a diamond sort of, or a square kind of shape. It's a little bit of a puffy, irregular kind of shape. And then the final piece is this lovely one with gorgeous autumn leaves all over. So again, it's a slightly off-white background, and then you've got maroon and red and pink and orange and yellow and taupey colours, and all the little tiny leaves all over it. And then the back of this one is a gorgeous orange, which has got like a lighter orange in the background, and then darker orange spots in 2 different sizes, and a sort of like a regular pattern on there as well. And a use for your pattern papers. The previous colour trend video, I showed you how to like spruce them up with the Nuvo products, but this is a technique that one of my friends taught me when I was in junior school, and I don't think I've ever done it in a video, and I haven't done it for a while, but it's called iris folding, and so I thought I'd have a go with these pattern papers, and it works really, really nicely. I know I don't do it the proper way. You're supposed to print out a template and then put all of these pieces down onto a template and then decide your aperture over the top, but I work on the back of the aperture and do it my own way, and it turns out like this. So I quite like how it turns out. If you do it with a proper template, then you'd probably only have 4 colours around the edge, and this would actually all go into the spiral, whereas these 3 pieces on mine sort of stop because there wasn't enough space to keep adding them in, and I wanted to keep the spiral going, so I just did it with one of each of the colours rather than these extra ones. But if you like iris folding, you'll know what I mean of how to do it. But I think these pattern papers work really nicely because they are very subtle patterns on some of them. So like one side of each of the papers is a gorgeous subtle design, which works really nicely for this iris folding kind of technique. And all you do for this, I've got a few leftovers here, is you just cut random strips. I mean, obviously if you were doing this properly, they're supposed to be a specific width and you're supposed to fold in a certain amount to get the folded edge, but I just do it random thicknesses, so roughly just over a centimetre wide, and then I just fold it at any sort of width here to give you the folded line, and then that's what you place down to get this kind of effect, and they all sort of interlock into each other to give this spiral iris kind of design, which I think looks really cool, and it can work with any kind of die cut shape as well. I don't know why I haven't done this sooner, because you used to have to rely on those triple fold aperture cards to use the shape that was in them to create an iris folded design, but now you can do it with any shape, because if you've got a die, you can actually create that shape and do the iris folding inside it. So I think it's a cool technique, which I might be bringing back in a sped up video at some point as well. So yeah, I thought I'd show that using the papers. So that is my last sample, but I'll also show you the cardstock that's in this colour trend as well. So with all the colour trends recently, we've had 5 new colours of cardstock, and we've got 5 new colours again. In all the different styles of cardstock. So the first one is a pearlescent card, which is called Coffee Cream. Really, really pretty. Neutral, again, neutral kind of colour. Slightly different colour to the expanding mousse. It's maybe slightly more of a yellowy colour than a pinky tone of the expanding mousse, but really lovely neutrally kind of colours. Goes really nicely with the malted milk gloss drop as well. So really pretty double-sided pearlescent cardstock, and all of the specialty ones come 5 sheets in a packet. I always forget to say details like that. Then this one is called Sienna Treasure. Oh, it's gone blurry. This one's called Sienna Treasure, and it is the a luxury embossed cardstock, and it has this gorgeous stripy design. It's like the silver silk, and I think it's called golden silk as well, and there's also cinnamon silk too, but this one is called Sienna Treasure. I just love this texture on a card. I love the silver and the gold. I've been hoarding it, so I'll definitely be buying a few more packets of this to go with it as well, because this gorgeous coppery kind of tone, it's more of an orange copper than the cinnamon silk version of this, so really, really lovely, that one. And again, 5 sheets come in that packet. Then we've got a classic cardstock, which has that gorgeous weave texture on one side and then is smooth on the other side. And it's a really beautiful autumnal orangey colour, very pumpkin-y, and it's called Ginger Pie, this one. So sorry my camera goes out of focus. It really doesn't like it when I have shiny packets or I'm showing cardstock up close. This is the classic textured cardstock, so it comes in a packet of 10 sheets. Then, are you going to sort yourself out? I think it's sort of in focus now. So this is the satin mirror card, and this one is called Baroque Rose. really gorgeous satin effect mirror card. A lovely subtle peachy pinky kind of a colour, but really, really pretty. And again, 5 sheets in that packet. Then the final one is the cotton handmade paper, which is called Royal Garnet. And again, you get 5 sheets in this one. And it's this beautiful, rich, maroony, aubergine kind of colour. Really, really lovely. And it hasn't got a pearlescent finish to this one. So it actually tears really nicely and gives a slightly lighter coloured core, which I think looks really lovely. So it's the same colour on both sides as well, so you can either have the emboss or the deboss kind of design, and I think it just looks really lovely. You've got the torn edge on the deboss side there as well, but I really love tearing this one. It looks really, really nice. So that is all of the cardstock and everything that is in this final colour trend for 2021. I'll put all my samples back out again as well, but I hope you enjoyed this unboxing video of the colour trend. I know it's a little bit different how I usually do them, but hopefully it's slightly shorter in length rather than over an hour like some of my other ones. So yeah, hopefully it sort of gives you an overview of the gorgeous colours and different products that are in this colour trend. They're all previously released products, they're just new colours of them. And hopefully it's given you a few more ideas to how to use your Nuvo products, whether you do get any of these new colours or you just want a new way of using an existing colour that you already own as well. Or maybe you got some of these bits and pieces in the previous craft kit and you wanted another way of using them as well. Hopefully it's given you a few ideas. So I really hope you enjoyed the video. And do let me know if you prefer this style or whether you preferred it when I went through all of the products in the beginning and then showed you the samples at the end. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of this video. And if you want any of these products from the new colour trend, I will link as many as I can in the description below the video, but then I will link everything with picture links over on my blog post as well, which is also linked below the video. And they will be affiliate links too, so I really do appreciate if you click any of them to purchase anything. It really makes a big difference. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!